Hey, welcome back, guys. Today we're finally going to do the video that I wanted to do for the last 6-7 months due to all the I guess questions and bickering and opinions online. I'm going to compare the 4B11 to the 4G63 with their heads and a sleeve block. Okay, so let's start. We got a lot to cover. I'll do my best to be as accurate as possible. I don't have these numbers, straight from the top of my head. So, the 4G63 and 4B11. Let's start with some similarities. Okay. So obviously this is a 4-cylinder. That's a 4-cylinder. Similar board. This is like 85. I think that one's like 86 or something like that. They both come in Evos. This is Evo 10 and this is Evos, I guess. If you really think about it, all the DSMs and Evos have some version of this motor. Okay, this is the 4G63. In particular, this one is a 4G63 from an Evo 8. We're using CP pistons and it has Manley 94 millimeter crank and billet crank, and this has Manley turbo tough rods as well, I-beams. So this block is made out of iron. This is called, a lot of people say, out of all the engines and everything, this is the most powerful, power holding, bulletproof, blah 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 blah. That's because of iron block. Obviously this is stronger. This will hold a lot of power. This one is aluminum. All aluminum. There's no, I guess the rods and crank and only thing is that's steel. But this is all aluminum. It's a brand new design. Stock, I would say the 4B11s, before you sleeve it, the 4B11s can hold, well actually will make 600 or close to it, 550, something like that. The stock 4G63, however, because of the internals, not because of the block, will make the similar amount, but I personally feel that they will fail earlier at that power level than the 4B11s. Power-wise, ultimately, this will obviously, because of the iron, will make a lot more, like 1,1400 horses, not a problem. Obviously you have to strengthen the block and all that stuff, but it's not as much as this one. This 4G63 uses a belt-driven timing, which I don't have an example for you, unfortunately, and this uses a timing chain. Much superior design than that one, and this also is a belt-driven, chain-driven oil setup. Which is much superior to the 4G63, as we all know, has oiling issues. Now, that's the bottom end. Iron, aluminum. There is a remedy for the aluminum portion of it. Okay, you can sleeve your block. This is a Darton sleeve. Let me get some light. Darton sleeves, and this will hold as much as that one until that one becomes a dry block. Couple of aftermarket modifications people do on this. They half fill it for street use and full fill it for drag racing. But once you fill it, that means basically you fill the coolant passages, which is here. You fill it up with cement or whatever and makes the block very rigid. But where it needs the most help is up here at the combustion chamber. And if you half fill it, it doesn't do that. And basically the bottom part of the engine is filled and it doesn't expand as much as the top. So those of you, my advice would be not to do it at all. If you're doing full fill, that's understandable. You're not gonna drive the car, so in between runs you just cool it down. That's something different. But if you're half filling in, I would say not to use that. Just go with some kind of O-ring setup and whatnot. If you're running like 1,100-1,200 horses and you're trying to make more, half fill might, at that point, I personally think that you should get like those billet blocks or full fill your thing, and you're no longer actually using it on the street. So those are the main, I would say, the differences. I'm going to reiterate what I just said, because a lot of people will argue, oh, that's stronger. Yes, it's iron. That's going to be stronger. Just a block, though. But once you sleeve this as a normal person who's maybe maxed out on 1,000 to 11, there's no difference. You'll pay maybe $1,200 more to sleeve it, maybe most $1,600 more. At that point, this becomes, in my opinion, much superior block because of the head. Speaking of head, let's visit the head section. This is a 4G63 head, and this is a 4B11 head. It's a little different. The 4G63, this is where the cam sits and has lifters. The lifters help, and lift and rock arms, which sits here, help support opening the valves and closing them. It's not a direct cam system here. On the 4B11, it is direct. So the cam sits right here. This is a better example. The cam sits right here, as you can see, and these are buckets. When the lope turns, it pushes the bucket, and underneath the bucket are basically the springs. As you can see, that's the springs, and that's the bucket that sits. A lot of people run into issues when they don't do the clearance for between the cam lobe and the bucket distance. There is a little bit of distance that's required. Follow the specs in the OEM or the cam maker specs, and you'll be fine. But that does affect tuning and the way your car runs and everything. This 4G63 also has a, I think the Evo 9s have a single MIVEC intake and no MIVEC on the exhaust. The 4B11s have both MIVECs, which basically means it can electronically or through oil pressure change the advance or retard of the cam center line. Why do you want that? It makes for mid-range low-end torque, and in some cases it can make top end. But with the 4B11s, there's an issue with aftermarket springs and cams, which puts a lot of pressure on the exhaust side, and these tend to bend, in which case we always go with some kind of MIVEC delete like Magnus or Torque Solutions. Head-wise, these are actually our Stage 3 4B11, Stage 3 4G63. Head-wise, this is much superior. I feel this makes power much easier. On a stock Evo 10 head, you don't really need to do anything to make 800, 700, just cams. That's basically it. You don't need to port it, you don't need to do anything. While this, you would have to do a little bit more to get to the same power level. And same thing, like you don't need to do oversized valves, even though this does have oversized valves. But I would say under, I don't know, maybe even 1,000. Under 1,000, you don't need to do oversized valves. And the 4G63 is also nitrate oversized valves for us. Couple of quirks about this head, the 4G63 head. The guides are iron, so they usually crack around 80,000-90,000 miles. So if you're gonna do a head job or build, make sure you change the guides and put like bronze or something. As you can see, those are yellow things. Those are the guides. We've already changed them. This one's good, but you can still upgrade them. A lot of people do, might as well. Doesn't really cost as much to upgrade it. Now, the head is one area where the 4B11 has stronger, I guess, argument. But this engine just, to me, revs better, probably because of, you know, the lighter parts and everything else. The chain really is good as long as you maintain it. I prefer this over the 4G63. And the crank is much beefier than this one. This is actually a lot fatter crank than you get on the 4G63, even with the billet. The oiling system is better than this one. It's a chain driven. We revved a couple of hours consistently to like 9.5, 10,000. Doesn't show any signs of failure, and it ran for a while. And I personally feel, and a lot of people will probably argue about this, I think these are easier to service. I know I'm gonna get some negative feedback, because to service is you gotta take out the front case, do this, and to take out the front case, do timing, you need to drop the pan, all that stuff. But I think the job is less error prone than this. Timing on this, to do the timing, is definitely less errors than this one. You know, when you flip the plates and all that stuff. So basically that's it. I wanted to do an in-depth, and tuning wise, again, I feel like this makes more power. The 4B11 makes more power easier than the 4G63 does. But we'll find out, because we got the Zona 95 and this 105 is gonna go both on almost exactly the same build, 4B11 and 63. These two are almost the same thing, similar cams too. And we'll see which one makes more power. And thank you guys, and that's it. I just wanted to make a quick video. There's been a lot of going back and forth, 4G63 guys versus 4B11s. So I hope this helps. I hope this answers a few more questions, but it's probably going to raise more arguments. I know that. And thank you guys again for, you know, watching my vid, the comments, the love that I'm getting. It just motivates me more to make more videos. We got a lot of stuff. I actually have a project car that I just got. It's basically, I just got it just to compare how fast Evos are, and all the things that we're building, a real comparison. So not, you know, obviously it's not going to be an Evo, but we'll have a video about that a little bit later. So keep watching, keep subscribing, and thank you guys once again.